Good afternoon, friends. This is Manish Khandelwal. I'm a mechanical engineer, and the details of my experience is written at the bottom of this slide. Today's topic is a bit surprising because all of us know that keeping low inventory is always better. But in today's presentation, I have shown some cases where keeping higher inventory is in the interest of the organization. What is the main purpose of keeping inventory for raw material? One purpose is to meet customers' demand, including the expected fluctuation in customers' demand. Another purpose is filling the distribution channel well in time. Few of you may be wondering as to what this distribution channel is. The distribution channel is nothing but a route between manufacturing company and end customer. So distributors, dealers, retailers, these people will come in the distribution channel. There may be cases when the manufacturing company is supplying material directly to the end customer. I am ignoring those cases. So a company responsibility is to keep this distribution channel filled with the required material in required time. For example, a company is making winter clothing in North India. The requirement for winter clothing starts from October onwards every year for a few months. The company has to plan the raw material inventory in such a way that they have sufficient material to increase the production from August itself and supply more quantity in this channel from September onwards. So the inventory level of the raw material shall be more during this period. Another purpose is to get shield from upward price revision. On the flip side, there are cases when the prices may go down as well. The production facility desires to produce larger lots so that the downtime due to changeover reduces and their production efficiency improves. However, there are companies where the inventory cost is more than the downtime. And in this case, the industry believe in making more changeovers and make only what they will sell on that day. The high valued item will come here. Then there may be situations when the uncertainties like transit delays or quality issues are there. Available inventory helps us to continue with the production even in these conditions and keep supplying the material to the customers. Sometimes the child parts are specially designed or manufactured from special raw material. So these parts may be produced by the supplier only on order. So we need to have sufficient inventory of these parts. What are the considerations for keeping the inventory level of raw material? First consideration is to study the demand pattern of the product and all its child parts. Few child parts may be common with other products also, and this thing has to be taken into account while deciding the inventory. The demand pattern for few months or few years may be studied to actually come to a better conclusion. Second is to consider the number of suppliers for each child part. There may be child parts having single source. Inventory of these child parts should be kept more. At the same time, efforts should be on to keep at least 2 suppliers for one child part. Another consideration is the supply rating. The supply rating is nothing but it is a performance indicator in respect of quality, cost and delivery, QCD. Higher it is, better it is. If you are having a single source for a particular component and the rating of that source is low, In this scenario, keeping higher inventory for that particular part coming from the supplier is better. However, if we are having more than one source and the rating of one of the sources is low, then giving that supplier low share of business is preferable. At the same time, our effort should be on to improve the supplier rating gradually. Another important consideration is plan and long shutdown. All the manufacturing companies do plan the preventive maintenance every year for few days. And after the preventive maintenance, few factories may take some times to return to the normalcy. So if a factory says that they have taken the plant shutdown for 7 days, then please plan the inventory for 10 days because they may take time to return to the normal. Second is, in almost all parts of the world, the companies do observe long holidays. For example, in North India, the companies are closed for 4 to 5 days or maybe a week during Deepavali. In East India, the companies are closed for Durga Puja for a week. Similarly, Europe is closed for 2 to 3 weeks during Christmas. Japan and China also observe long holidays once or twice in a year. So the inventory has to be planned keeping these shutdown and holidays in mind. There may be a possibility of product change or some part of the product is planned to be changed. In this case, inventory has to be planned very cautiously. Not only that, we have to convey it to the relevant suppliers also for them to take care of it. There may be a possibility of price revision upward or downward. This is really very tricky, and the decision of raw material inventory has to be taken very, very judiciously. There are cases when keeping high inventory can be justified. If there is a sudden surge in demand, as is shown through this arrow diagram, and the company doesn't have the sufficient inventory, then there is always a possibility that company loses the customers. And in such cases, to procure the material, the company may have to pay premium freight, they may have to pay high cost, they may have to make advance payments, they may have to procure the material from unknown sources or irregular sources, which has the potential to pose the quality issues. So we can consult sales and marketing department, go through the sales data of previous few years, and if it is found that the company is losing business due to shortage of material, then the company can decide to keep the high inventory of such items. Please note that I am talking of material which has large fluctuations. As I have discussed in previous slide also, there may be a situation when we are procuring the material from a single source. So any disruption at single source can play havoc. This shall adversely affect the supplies to our customers. This also has the potential to stop our production lines and keep our manpower idle. All the material linked to this particular item shall also be lying idle. For example, we need 5 items A, B, C, D, E to make one product. And one item, say E, is coming from a single source. And something goes wrong with the supplier and the material E is not coming. Then other items A, B, C, D also will be lying idle because we cannot do anything without E. Then quality issues in the suppliers from single source shall also have this similar effect. So as I said before also, it is always better to have minimum 2 sources for one item. If not, then keeping high inventory makes sense for such items. Next is items having MOQ, that is minimum order quantity. So minimum order quantity actually is the minimum order quantity which can be ordered in one or single purchase order. Minimum order quantity actually is set by the supplier in order to ensure that they are able to meet all their operating expenses, including the profits. There may be special raw material out of which the component is to be manufactured, and that raw material for that particular item may also be having minimum order quantity. The process may be special. In this case, producing small quantity is not financially viable. So the supplier sets a minimum order quantity for the buyer to purchase. Keeping high inventory of such item is preferred. Not only will have to pay higher cost for procuring such items if purchased in limited quantity, but also there is a risk that our supplier doesn't manufacture it when we need it. Say for example, the supplier fixes a minimum order quantity for item A is 1000 numbers and the cost is 500 rupees per piece. If the customer has a requirement of only 25 pieces per month, then the customer will have to purchase 40 months inventory if he wants to purchase at the rate of 500 rupees. Of course, the supplier may say that I can give you lesser quantity but at a exorbitant cost. So perfect balance has to be made by the customer. Inventory management for the imported raw material is very critical. There are considerations which have to be made while procuring the imported items. One is expected upward revision of foreign currency. If we have some indications that the foreign currency may go up, then keeping high inventory is better, because all the imported items are purchased in foreign currency, whether it is US dollars or pound or euro. Then there may be expected problem in shipping or problems at port. There are sometimes strikes at port, or there is congestion of shipping. The ship is not getting berth, so it is taking time. So in this scenario also, it is better to keep the high inventory. If we are having high inventory, then we can supply the customers. We already have discussed about long holidays at suppliers and like Christmas holidays. So we need to keep these things in our mind and keep procurement accordingly. Then sources away from India like USA or South Africa, they have a long lead time, 40 to 45 days they take. So this thing has to be kept in mind. Procurement of large quantities shall divide freight, packing and CHA, that is clearing and handling charges, and thus it becomes cheaper if you calculate per piece cost. So these are the cases when keeping high inventory makes sense. In my strong opinion, sufficient inventory of low-cost spares, hardwares, bearings, washers should always be kept. Sometimes the unavailability of these cheap items may cause long breakdowns. Similarly, oil seals, O-rings, belts, grease, etc. is also very cheap, but these items have shelf life. So inventory of these items have to be decided very carefully. Here the quantity is not the issue. The only thing is that the shelf life of these items is limited. Then considering experience and mean time between failure, the maintenance team has to make a list of critical spares These spares may be costly, these spares may be cheap, but these critical spares have to be kept in stores always, and they should be kept away from inventory control. There may be special electronic cards, motors, specially designed hardwares. Then all these items will come into the list of critical spares. Now, what are the problems in keeping the inventory, high inventory? One, of course, is additional capital is required, which can otherwise be used for other purposes. Then there are chances of damage or obsolescence if the material is more. There are chances of damage. It can get obsolete also over a period of time. Of course, we need additional storage. We need additional racks. We need additional bins. One more problem is if we observe the quality issues at a later date, then it becomes a big issue. Suppose we have bought 1000 items for one particular item and our consumption is 200 pieces per month. So for first 2 months there is no issue, but third month we found that there is an issue with the component. Now 400 pieces are already there in the market, and the supply, it is difficult for supplier also to locate because it is already 2 months old, and this is, from quality angle, this is a problem. Then the prices of the stored item may dip sharply, and in this case your customer surely will ask the price reduction. He will not consider that you have the inventory for him only. He will say, no, the price I've reduced, I want this material at a cheaper rate. So these are the challenges if you're keeping high inventory. With few examples, I have tried to justify the higher inventory in few cases. Frankly speaking, I have worked in companies where we have kept higher inventory for certain items, and it has paid rich dividends to the company. Friends, if you like this video, please subscribe my channel. Thank you very much.